So over to you now, Davian. There's another youngster alongside Odin Smith that we really would like to see some more of him. So in the Caribbean, we basically only have three left arm seamers. Sheldon Cottrell, the soldier, Dominic Drakes, who doesn't really have much variation because of his lack of pace. And then the best T20 performance done by a West Indian seamer, 6 for 17 against India in 2022. Then the very next game, he had the worst performance by a seamer, going for, I think, 70 runs in 4 overs. Obed McCoy. Davian, over to you. What do you
Right.
think we should do with Obed McCoy?
All right. So what is really healing about McCoy is his fitness. He has very poor knees, and because of his dodgy knees, his workload has to be managed. So I really think West Indies should ensure that they invest some medical experts to see what can be done to improve his knees. Maybe he has too much weight on his upper body, but I think once the new knee issue is fixed, he will be back to match fitness and he will be back to full form. But he's definitely quality. I mean, he gets the ball to bounce at good heights. He has good variations. My issue with Obama McCoy is inability to swing the ball back into right-handers and away from left-handers. So in the power play, it's pretty easy for him to be seized upon because of the lack of swing. But for middle overs and dead overs, he's the ideal bowler when on song. But yeah, this is my comment on Obed McCoy.
No, Ricardo, when Obed McCoy just burst on the scene, we saw him bowling up to 148 kilometers per hour. That's over 90 miles. And being a left arm seamer was getting a lot of bounce, a lot of pace. Even in 2021, South Africa came to the Caribbean and Obed McCoy's pace, they were saying, whoa, they didn't know that he had so much pace when they first faced him. Quinton de Kock, Temba Bavuma, they were all saying Obed McCoy is quicker than you think. Now, in 2023 CPL and also international cricket record, we saw that Obed, the quickest he was bowling was around about 137, 136, which kind of took away from a slower delivery. It wasn't as deceptive anymore. So your thoughts on Obed McCoy? What's happening? Why his speed is dropping? Why haven't we seen more of Obed McCoy in ODI cricket? Your thoughts, Ricardo?
As Davian would have just mentioned, injuries. I think injuries is his biggest issue right now. And of course, once you are injury prone, then naturally your pace is going to suffer at some point, because I believe that he's probably reached a point now where he's running up and he's thinking about not getting injured. And so he's not probably not putting everything into his deliveries anymore. And especially as as Davian mentioned about knee issues. If he's having serious issues with his knees, your lower body is where you get a lot of your power from when you're doing most things. And so to get that drive, that lift in his delivery stride and everything, I do believe that he's probably losing something there, and maybe that's where he would have lost some of his pace. I see Obed as somewhat of a phenomenon, meaning this guy has so much variety. Even with him not being a genuine in-swing bowler to right-handers, he still has so much variety with his bowling. My major issue with Obed, even when he's bowling well, is I think that sometimes having that much variety plays against him, in the sense that he'll bowl two good Yorkers, and then he's looking for something else, even without the batsman doing anything to affect or to counteract the Yorkers. He will not go for a third one. He's going to try something else and then maybe get hit for a boundary. Then he tries to go back to the Yorker, end up bowling a full toss, goes to the boundary again. So I think him trying to dish out so much variety is his downfall at times, especially in death overs. When you look at his economy rate, I think we may be doing him a little some injustice when we use it against him, because we generally bowl him in those tough overs. And so, at economy rate of 8.5, it may not look good statistically, but when we take into consideration that he does a lot of bowling towards the end of the innings, I mean, generally you would take 8.5 at the end of the innings. You know what I mean? In most circumstances, most captains would be okay with 8-9 runs off the 18th, 19th, 20th over of a T20 match. So he definitely can be an asset for West Indies cricket. Whatever is going wrong with him, it needs to be fixed. As Davian mentioned, even if it takes some intervention from the West Indies Cricket Board, I don't know if they believe that he's worth the investment. We don't know what they're thinking where he's concerned, or maybe they think that they can move on without him. But as I said, with his ability, with his variety, I do believe he is an asset to our T20 setup, and so we should look to help him to get back to where we know he can be.
100%. 100% agree. Now, Davian, in terms of left arm seamers, we're talking about possibly winning the T20 World Cup. So the left arm seamers who have in the Caribbean are Dominic Drakes, Obed McCoy, and Sheldon Cottrell. These guys, what do they need to do for one of them to get back into the setup for the T20 World Cup, given that they'd play BPL or ILT20? Your thoughts now, Davian, to get in a left-arm seamer in time for the Cricket World Cup?
All right, so I think one of these bowlers play on the franchise before the deadline for the squad to be announced. They have to be taking a lot of wickets in the franchise. Now, so important we look at where they're taking the wickets. So the case they're taking the wickets mostly in the middle overs and death. We're not lacking in that, but it's the case they're taking the wickets in power play, taking 2-3 wickets in the power play consistently, letting batters playing and missing very often and keeping it tight. That's very, very important. So we need one of them to be swinging the ball in the power play and taking wickets in order for us to consider any of them. If they're not swinging, they deliver a C-minute, but most of the wickets has to be in the power play. We think the West Indies squad for the T20 national team needs more power play wicket-taking bowlers.
All right, so you're saying the left-arm seamer goes for, he needs to be able to bowl in the power play primarily.
Exactly, and take wickets. So take wickets and be, and the boundary has to be a lot of dot deliveries.
All right.
Build pressure.
Build pressure, take wickets. All right, so question for you now, Ricardo, to close the show. We're about to wrap up. In terms of these three left-arm seamers we have in the region, not throwing in Pestano, McSween, and others, these are the front three, we can all agree. So, Ricardo, who do you think stands the best chance to get back into the squad for the T20 World Cup, whether it's Cottrell, McCoy, or Dominic Drakes? And which one would you prefer to get into the squad, and the reason?
It's somewhat difficult to predict these what the West Indies selectors will do, but from my perspective, I would want to lean towards Sheldon Cottrell. Reason being, as Davian mentioned earlier, I think we want someone to be taking wickets in the power play. We want wickets overs, 1 to 6, preferably overs 1 to 3. We want to at least have 2 wickets in the bag by the third over. That would be ideal for us. Cottrell have proven over the years to be someone who gets early wickets. I've seen I'm not looking at any stats right now, but just from eye knowledge, just from watching cricket over the years, I rarely see Cottrell bowl and don't get at least one early wicket in power play overs. He also has the ability to swing the ball back into the right-handers. He bowls a heavy ball. It may not seem as if it's coming out at 150, but sometimes you see batsmen playing and it actually looks like it's 150. So he tends to come off the pitch very fast and rush batsmen and all of that. So I personally I would go for Sheldon. No Jamaican bias here or anything like that, but yeah, I would certainly look to Sheldon Cottrell. And of course he has that warrior mentality as well.
Definitely. Now, the last time Cottrell would have played for West Indies, he did very well in South Africa. I think he got second most wickets behind Alzari. But one thing we keep on hearing about Cottrell was his inability to bowl away from the new ball. So outside the power play, he would take, I think, 2 for 17 from his first 2 overs. But then captain struggled to fit in his next 2 overs, whether in the middle passage or in the death over. So Ricardo, how do you go about Cottrell's his other 2 overs? So on a good day can bowl 3 up front, but we still need to fit in that next over because Rugman likes to play 5 bowlers. So how do we get that sorted?
Well, I really don't think that should be so much of an issue. Reason being, if you're playing Sheldon Cottrell, you want to get 4 overs out of him, right? Because you don't expect anything from him with the bat. So you really want to get 4 overs out of him. If he's having a bad day, then fine, you may just have to bowl in 2 or 3. But if he's going to be getting 2 for 17 of 2 overs up front, you must find some way to get in that other 2 before the death overs. So I don't think struggling to get in his other overs should actually be and should be an excuse at this point. We just simply have to find a way to get in those overs. So I would suggest at least 2 overs in the power play. And, maybe we look to somewhere between, say, overs 9 and 15, somewhere there to try and, get in something there from him again. Because we have seen that he struggles towards the end. So let's just not put him in that situation. Let's get the best that we can get out of him, which is up front and somewhere in the middle.
All right. Davian, I know I said we were gonna end with Ricardo, but I want to hear your take on this matter, Davian. Who do you think is the front runner out of these 3, or at least the front runner for you? Who do you think holds the advantage to possibly get back in the squad before the T20 World Cup?
I agree, Ricardo, with the Sheldon Cottrell choice. Why left-handers are so impactful in cricket is the ability to swing deliveries into right-handers away from left-handers. They're most time the point of difference. So I think based on that unique attribute of a champion left armour, he gets the first place. However, if Obed McCoy develops the ability to swing the ball into the right hander, at least let the ball straighten, then I will go with Obed McCoy.
All right. All right. Boy, it's definitely difficult to choose, but we can all agree then that Dominic Drake seemed to be the one that would be left by the wayside, and it's really a ding-dong battle between Cottrell and McCoy.
I think Dominic Drake is more of a bowling all-rounder. And Sheldon Cottrell and Obed McCoy, they are specialist bowlers. So that's the thing with Dominic Drakes.
Yeah, and I think Dominic Drakes needs to get a bit more pace, and he needs to either move the ball, either into batsmen or seaming, or he needs to do something different apart from his gentle medium pace, no swing. All right, definitely. So just want to say thank you, Davian. Thank you, Ricardo, for your expert analysis here. It was a wonderful show. And of course, I think the viewers will thoroughly enjoy today's show and many, many, many more, many, many, many more to come. Of course, we have the practice game. West Indies were gonna next week this time. We're gonna be playing the Prime Minister's 11 that Australia gonna select, and we'll be reviewing that and seeing how we're performing over there in Australia. So, thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Davian. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ronaldo. Yeah, enough respect.
Yes, man. Thanks much, and I'll be here whenever I'm called.
All right, so let's stay tuned and see what West Indies will do. All right, as we turn our attention to Test cricket. Next week, of course, West Indies will be playing against the Prime Minister's 11. So, any predictions next week this time in terms of a batter? Before we leave, any predictions in terms of standout batter in the Prime Minister's 11 from the uncapped? Let's make that clear. From the uncapped players, because they're all going to play in the Prime Minister's 11.
I let us see.
David, over to you.
Yeah, none for me, none for me.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to make a bold call. Look out for Kavem Hodge. He's going to have a good practice game. Well, let's see. All right, so stay tuned. Stay tuned for many more. All right, stay tuned.